Here are the candidates for Georgia's 14th District Congressional seat as of May 20th, 2022, just prior to the primary. The primary is on the 24th. We have Wendy Davis, a Democrat; Holly McCormick, a Democrat; Marcus Flowers, a Democrat; Eric Cunningham, a Republican; Charles Lewton, a Republican; James Haygood, a Republican; Marjorie Green, a Republican; Jennifer Strom, a Republican; Seth, I am not even going to try and pronounce your last name, a Republican; and Angelapence, a Libertarian. Now, Angela has not acquired the appropriate number of signatures on a petition, so she may not be on the ballot in November. Let's take a look at the candidates that are running and see if we can come to an evaluation as to what we have available. We'll start with Wendy Davis. Here we are at the website of Wendy Davis, and it says, "Dear neighbor, while Washington is deciding how to spend our money to jumpstart our economy, reopen our schools, and repair our roads, we don't have a seat at the table because our representative is more interested in being a spectacle on cable news and a social media star than in getting results for us. We deserve better." Well, the first thing I'd have to ask you, Wendy, is what in that statement should convince me that you're better? Because what I see is shaming language. Regardless of my personal feelings on Mrs. Green, you're bad-mouthing Mrs. Green. You're not telling me how you are a benefit or better. The second thing I see is you are overweight. This is a clear indication of a lack of self-discipline. We need someone in Washington at the federal level that has self-discipline. If we scroll down to the bottom of the page here for Wendy Davis, we come across her contact information. info@wendyforus.com. P.O. Box 5135, Rome, Georgia 30162. So Wendy, you don't even have an office. This looks pretty shady. So Wendy, in my book, you're out. Let's take a look at what Holly McCormick has to say. Over here on Holly's website, right on the top, urgent. There are over 12,000 unregistered likely Democrats at Georgia 14. Click here to get them registered. First line. All she seems to be concerned about is Democrats. But I thought you were running for the office to represent all residents of the 14th District. You're not scoring any brownie points with me, Holly. None at all. Let's cut through the noise and get back to work. Isn't that spiffy? But you didn't say anything, Holly. As we scroll down, we have, I was raised in Northwest Georgia. I love my home. Sure, it can be tough, and we often get overlooked, but our roots are here, and there's a sense of comfort. Counting Georgia out has always been a losing bet, but we need an advocate who will fight for us and our issues in Washington, D.C. My name is Holly McCormick, and I'm running to be Northwest Georgia's advocate in Congress. To start with, you are not an advocate. You are not running to be an advocate. You are running for the congressional seat for the 14th District of Georgia. That means you are a representative of the people. Next on the list, you're going to fight. We don't need somebody that's going to fight. We need somebody who understands conflict resolution, how to work together with other people to accomplish the goals that you wish to accomplish. So far, Holly, you don't sound like that person. Then we have this picture here. Now keep in mind, she chose this picture as putting her best foot forward. Does she look like a professional, or does she look pretty unkept? Again, an overweight woman, a lack of self-discipline. So as we get down here to the bottom, for contact us, we have info@hollyforcongress.com. No address. Looks pretty shady, Holly. I'm afraid I'm going to have to count you out. On to Mr. Flowers. When we hit Mr. Flowers' website, the very first thing we see, Democrat Marcus Flowers is running to defeat Marjorie Taylor Greene. Join our team. So the very first thing that Mr. Flowers wants to say is that his purpose is to defeat her. He's not telling us anything about what he is as a prospective candidate for the congressional seat. We're talking about paying $174,000 a year. This is what we get from Mr. Flowers. And when we scroll down a little bit, Marcus Flowers is the Democrat running to defeat Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia's 14th District. Flowers has spent his entire career defending the United States. Marcus has spent a decade in combat zones around the world and has worked on 4 continents. He has seen firsthand the damage done by extremism and disinformation. Disinformation, key word for, we want to eliminate the First Amendment, freedom of speech. We want to censor your speech. If we pop over to contact, Mr. Flowers has an address, which is a P.O. box. That's pretty sketchy, Mr. Flowers. We have info@marcusforgeorgia.com. I have sent 2 emails attempting to contact Mr. Flowers, both of which have not been answered. I'm here on Mr. Flowers' YouTube channel, where he has 43 videos. We have a virtual town hall here that we'll click on. The comments are turned off. Okay, well, let's try a different video. We'll try this one. The comments are turned off on this one. Here's his campaign ad. Comments are turned off on this one. It doesn't seem like Mr. Flowers is very interested in listening to what anybody in the 14th District has to say. Unfortunately, Mr. Flowers, I believe we're going to have to let you go too. That covers the 3 people that are running as Democrat for the 14th District in the state of Georgia. I will say this much. Out of the 3, the one I found the most disappointing was Mr. Flowers. Mr. Flowers touts his service in the Army, yet he believes in censoring what you have to say. He believes in taking away your First Amendment, your freedom of speech. The oath that he took includes to defend the United States Constitution against enemies, both foreign and domestic. Well, Mr. Flowers, if you believe in censoring and taking away a person's right to free speech, that makes you an enemy domestic. Let's take a look at Eric Cunningham. First thing we see is Georgia's 14th District. Eric Cunningham for Congress.com. Fight for our conservative beliefs and values and stop the divisiveness. This is straight out of feminism. Fighting for equality, fighting for everything. That's not how you succeed in life. You succeed in life through conflict resolution. The next thing we see is in this top right, the address for Mr. Cunningham is a P.O. box. You just want me to send money to a P.O. box. That looks like a scam artist. Mr. Cunningham, you don't look genuine. As we scroll down a bit, the first thing is this is extremely difficult to read. Whoever you hired to do this website, you should fire them. If you consider this quality, I have a real good idea of what you consider quality with you being the representative for the 14th District. I am a strong conservative Republican, just like most of those in the 14th District, and I'll fight to protect our rights and ensure your voices are being listened to, not just heard. But I am concerned, not just for our great country, but for our great party, the Republican Party. Mr. Cunningham, are you going to represent the people of the 14th District, or are you going to represent the Republican Party? I see and hear the extreme liberal and socialist values and agenda coming from the left. Their belief is that you are not in 100% agreement with them, then you are too conservative for their otherwise very liberal party. Bernie Sanders and AOC and her squad. To start with, that should not be Bernie Sanders and AOC and her squad. It should be Bernie Sanders, AOC and her squad. Professionalism, Mr. Cunningham, are literally ruining their party because of these beliefs. Joe Biden has acquiesced to their demands, and because of this, the Democrats are going to lose big in the midterms and in the 2024 presidential election. They are self-destructing because of the far-left extremists. This is great for the Republican Party in the short term. Once again, do you represent the people of the 14th District? Or do you represent the Republican Party? But we feel like we are the party that can lead the country back to being stronger than it has been. Whoa, Mr. Cunningham, it is not your job to lead. You are our representative. Your job is to do what we want. We, the people, do the leading. We have to stop alienating the moderate Republicans, the independents, and any of the swing voters who feel concerned about what they hear and read from the extreme left and extreme right. I am not running to represent only a certain segment of the Republican Party. Okay, you've answered my question. What about the Democrats that live in the 14th District, Mr. Cunningham? If elected to this office, you are elected to represent all the people. I am running to represent the whole Republican Party and the independents. They may not agree right down the line with all of my conservative values, but they agree enough to know that I'll do what is right for all Republicans. If we continue to elect and listen to only extreme politicians, we will be dealt the same blows the liberal Democrats are going to be dealt in midterms. Mr. Cunningham, you've already terminated your position with me. You are the extreme, and you have no desire to represent the people of the 14th District. All you're concerned about is the Republican Party. I looked around for an email contact. The only thing I could find was over here on Meet Eric, and down here is this form at the bottom. But we have no email address for him. We have no address for him. Mr. Cunningham, you're out. Let's take a look at Charles Lewton. We have Lewton for Congress, Georgia Congressional District 14. And we've got the map of Georgia 14. Right next to it, we've got Mrs. Green with an X through her. So the first message that he wants to send to us is that we should elect him just because we want to get rid of Marjorie Green. So far, you're not looking real good, Mr. Lewton. He does have a town hall meeting on Zoom every Sunday at 6 p.m. And I will say this much, his website is much easier to read. Here we go again. Charles Lewton wants to defeat Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's help him. As we scroll down a bit, we get to, I am running in the 14th Georgia Congressional District to present a conservative viewpoint without the extremism that is distracting. I have made a career out of telling people what they need to know, even when it is not what they want to hear. Well, Mr. Lewton, while you haven't point blank said it, you're treading in dangerous water in my book. We tell you what you need to know. You do what we the people say, not the other way around. I will always spread the truth and always work for the best interest of the people of the 14th Congressional District. I strongly support public health initiatives. Well, Mr. Lewton, I'm going to assume that you're telling the truth when you say you will spread the truth. We'll scroll down a bit here, and these are the issues that Mr. Lewton feels are important. First one on the list is term limits for Congress. Mr. Lewton, are you asking for my permission to spend taxpayer dollars to do something that already exists? Term limits for Congress already exist. All the people have to do is vote them out. Second one on the list, he's got Second Amendment. And if we go to read more, the right to bear arms is crucial in a free society. But that right is not unlimited. No one is proposing to take guns away from citizens, but weapons of war are not properly used by private citizens. Mr. Lewton, you have earned your red X. He does have contact information down here on the bottom right. Once again, a P.O. box. Shady, very shady. He gives a phone number and an email address. Mr. Lewton, as I stated, you've earned your red X. 5 down and 5 to go. Let's see what James Haygood has to say. Over here on his website, we have James Haygood for Congress. Well, at least we know where he stands. We have Meet James. James lives in Rydell, Georgia with his wife Danielle on their farm. When he's not working on the railroad, he enjoys doing work on the farm. James grew up in Adairsville and had great parents who taught him the value of honest hard work. He married Danielle in 2002 and they have remained happily married for 20 years. Now with a little bit of hard work and common sense, James is ready to go to Washington, D.C. and fight for our families of the 14th District. Again with the fight thing. Down here, a little bit lower, we've got his Contact Us, which he has a form that you can fill out. He has an email address, james@jameshaygood.com. He has a phone number, and he has an actual address. So far, James looks better than any of the previous candidates. Pop over here to why I'm running. I want to represent the blue-collar men and women who don't have a voice, who get up day after day and go to work to provide for their family and make sure they have a nice home and they can put food on the table. I want to represent the blue-collar men and women who don't have a voice. You're getting redundant here, James. Yeah, you could have eliminated that. I am running for all the small business owners looking to upgrade or hire more people but can't because of red tape and burdensome regulations. I am running because the supply chain issues our nation is facing are turning into a national crisis, and the Biden administration has no idea how to fix it. Their only solution is more regulations that will make it harder to find good truck drivers. My first bill in Congress will be a complete audit of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration and other agencies that are hurting the transportation and logistics industry. I am running to represent church-going Americans so they know someone has their back and will fight for their religious freedoms, allowing them to practice what they believe without big government stepping in. I am running to stand up for the unborn and protect life by defunding family planning centers in the 14th District. I am running to ensure that our Second Amendment is not infringed upon, because if you think our government has encroached upon your liberties in the last 2 years, just imagine what they would have done if we didn't have our Second Amendment. I am running to provide an alternative to people who find themselves frustrated with our current Congresswoman. No one is entitled to an office. You have to earn the trust of the people each term and be reelected. Competition is a good thing for all candidates across America. And lastly, I'm running because we need an everyday American who is from this district and knows the people who live and work in the 14th District. I was born here and raised here. We don't need another super wealthy member of Congress who hasn't dealt with the struggles of everyday life. We need a blue-collar working American. I just want to go back up here for a second where he says, I am running to stand up for the unborn and protect life by defunding family planning centers in the 14th District. Mr. Haygood, I don't see how you can do that, because you will be working on the federal level. Assuming that everything goes through as the leaked documents from the Supreme Court, abortion will be sent back to the state, and the state will decide what is and isn't going to happen. If we pop to where I stand on these issues: reduce federal spending, protect life, honoring our veterans, the economy, secure our borders, Second Amendment, supply chain crisis, balanced budget, and election integrity. This is the first candidate that we've seen that has brought up the subject of the economy. And I'm sure every one of you watching this video has felt the impact since the Biden administration has taken over with the economy. Down here under balanced budget, Georgia has a balanced budget requirement. Our families have to balance our budget. Why should Washington be any different? We can't spend money we don't have and just continue to rack up more debt. I support a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Mr. Haygood, I don't see how that would possibly do anything. I will be contacting you. I would like more in-depth information from you on this particular subject. Other than that, James, you're the first one on our list that does not get a red X. Congratulations, sir. Now we move to Marjorie Green, the incumbent. Here is her campaign website. I have a video concerning Mrs. Green on my YouTube channel, and I would encourage you to watch that video for my take on Mrs. Green. We can scroll down here a bit and we come to a video that Mrs. Green put out for her campaign.
I feel like I'm one of the luckiest people in the world, really, because I've been able to live the American dream, and I very much want my children to be able to have that same American dream. I'm Marjorie Green, and I'm running for Congress in the 14th District of Georgia. Every morning I get up really early and I go to the gym. It starts my day with hard work, and hard work is something that I believe in. I've never run for office before. I'm a political outsider. I'm not a career politician. I'm a successful business owner. I've spent the past 2 decades running my business alongside my husband, Perry. I've created thousands of jobs, not just in the state of Georgia, but in 11 different states. And if I ran my company the way Congress is running our federal government, I'd be out of business. I'm also a wife and a mom. I've enjoyed raising my 3 kids.
Mrs. Green, kids are baby goat, children are baby human. If you want respect, you need to show respect.
In the state I love, the state of Georgia, I very much want to take my successful business experience, my faith, and my family values to Washington and work for the good people in the 14th District. AOC wants to plunge us into communism. She is clueless about how capitalism even works.
Mrs. Green, this is just simply not true. Here we have a screenshot from the official AOC team shop. AOC has been selling sweatshirts and other gear since about the first year she was in office. She completely understands how capitalism works.
Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Nancy Pelosi, we have them in charge of our hard-earned tax dollars. They have no experience managing a company, taking care of employees, managing a budget that creates a profit. This is the same party that wants to take over our entire healthcare industry. They want to take over our entire energy sector. They want to raise our taxes. They want to murder babies up until the day of birth. And they want to take away our guns. That is coming out of every single Democrat presidential candidate right now. I'm a conservative Republican. I want to reduce our taxes.
With your time in office, Mrs. Green, just what have you done in an attempt to accomplish this goal?
And abortion. I want to fund the border wall and see it finished.
With your time in office, Mrs. Green, just what have you done in an attempt to accomplish this goal?
I want to free up healthcare. It needs to be a free market system.
With your time in office, Mrs. Green, just what have you done in an attempt to accomplish this goal?
President Trump needs more allies in Congress. We have watched him repeatedly be thrown under the bus and not supported. And I'm the kind of Republican that's more interested in helping the American people and working for the American people instead of continuing on with government and not following through with campaign promises. I'm Marjorie Green, and I approve this message.
Mrs. Green, when I did my homework on you, I could not find a single campaign promise that you put any effort into keeping. For this, you deserve Big Red X. Wear it proudly. Let's take a look at Jennifer Strawn. Here on her campaign website, we have a picture of, I'm assuming it's her and her husband and their son. I've got to ask, ma'am, is your son a sleestack? Shaping a stronger, more unified future for America. Why I'm running. Georgia's 14th district deserves a representative who is focused on serving, not being a celebrity. There is too much at stake right now for anything less than a full dedication to the job. Democrats in Washington, from Joe Biden to Nancy Pelosi, are infringing on our constitutional liberties, jeopardizing our national security, and threatening our jobs. And the 14th district is left without a real advocate or even a single seat on a congressional committee. We deserve better. Well, ma'am, to begin with, up here where you have jeopardizing our national security and threatening our jobs, and the 14th district is left without a real advocate, it should be jeopardizing our national security, comma, threatening our jobs. We certainly are getting sloppy with our professionalism, aren't we? But yet, you want me to agree to pay you $174,000 a year to be this sloppy. I'm a mother, wife, entrepreneur, and Christian. I'm also a no-nonsense conservative who knows how to get things done. As Congresswoman, I'll make sure we have a seat at the table, bring real results back to the district, and put Georgia first. Ma'am, you're running for an office in federal government. You're not trying to make Georgia number one. Your job is to represent Georgia at the federal level, says mother, wife, entrepreneur, and Christian. Ma'am, I'd have to question the Christian part of it. Christian teachings are, a woman was put here for a man. Her job is a support system for a man. A Christian woman would not be doing what you're doing. She would not be running for a political office because she understands that that's a man's job, not hers. Hers is to support that man. As we scroll down, we get to the bottom. Her contact is a P.O. box in Dallas, Georgia. Shady, Mrs. Strawn. Very, very shady. Now, I went through all of these options at the top, and under volunteer there's a form you can fill out as to how you can give to her, but yet she wants you to give money to her. That's kind of backwards. Under voter guide, she lists a comparison between her and Marjorie Taylor Greene, but some of the sources that she lists are from CNN. CNN has definitely been proven to spread false narratives about conservative political figures. So, ma'am, I'd question you on your critical thinking skills. My stances: access to affordable, high-quality health care, where medical visits and prescriptions don't break the bank. Ma'am, that's not a conservative position. That's a liberal position. Under press, she lists a bunch of stories with a bunch of buzzwords, and this is about the whole thing going on with Russia and the Ukraine. I'd have to ask you, ma'am, how do you see it as your place to butt your nose into what's going on the other side of the world? That's an issue between Russia and Ukraine. I may be incorrect, but from what I've watched happen in my life, it looks to me like President Putin is attempting to put the former Soviet Union back together again. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it's not your place to put your nose in. Overall, Mrs. Strom, I would classify you as pure chaos. You say you're conservative, but yet you have liberal positions on things. You say you're a Christian, but you're out of your place as a Christian woman.
There is an order ordained by God. That order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children.
The only contact we have for you is a P.O. box. Very shady. You, ma'am, have definitely earned the red X. 2 to go. Let's see how these work out. Next on the list is Seth Sinteline. If I butchered your name, Seth, I apologize. It wasn't intentional. Over here at his campaign website, the first thing we see is his logo in the top left. Love your neighbor, fight for what you love. Again with the fight thing. Feminism has really taken over our society. And when we scroll down here, we'll get to a public servant that serves you. I could start by complaining about how extremist agendas are ruining America, but you'll quickly learn that when others merely complain about problems, I start to fix them. I am a U.S. Marine, an educator, a small business owner, and a former law enforcement officer. I have a passion for people that is rooted in faith, demonstrated by action. I am biased towards action. Dallas, Georgia has been my home for the last 12 years. It's where I bought my first house and started a family. So it's safe to say I have skin in the game. When you vote for me, I'm not going to treat this office as a political vacation home. Whenever I am not standing up for your liberty of Washington, D.C., I will have my residence and office here, listening to you and your needs. Well, Seth, I think it's wonderful that you told me what you're not going to do. I would have appreciated knowing what you are going to do. Problem solver, right? That's what you said above. If we scroll to the bottom, we have a form to sign up for his updates. And we have an address. Suite 305, number 310 in Ackworth, Georgia. This is most likely just a mailbox, drop location like a UPS store, but it would be interesting to check that out. We do not have an email address. We do not have a phone number. Those are 2 strikes against you, Seth. If that is just a drop box, mailbox, that one's against you too. We'll go over to the mission. And in the mission, he talks about Mrs. Green losing her committee positions. But what I want to get into is term limits. There's a difference between a public servant and a career politician. One treats an office with the respect of a special assignment, while the other sees their position as a well-funded office job with perks. We need to combat a culture of comfortable establishment and ineffective government leeches with reasonable term limits. Allow experience and wisdom to be fostered, remove the focus on pandering politics, and refocus on beneficial U.S. policy. So, Seth, are you asking me to authorize you to spend tax dollars to create something that already exists? If term limits did not exist, sir, you would not be running for office. You just vote them out. Seems to me you're wanting to spend a bunch of taxpayer dollars in one direction when all you have to do is get people active in voting. Economy, in here. The U.S. economy has become a digital economy. Financial technology is a thriving sector that affects us all. Since 2015, more than 70% of U.S. financial transactions go through the state of Georgia, earning us the nickname Transaction Alley. And he goes into stating how he wants to expand this within Georgia. Seth, as I've said with others, your federal level. That's the office you're seeking, not state. This is something that should be handled at the state level. Guns and education. The American citizen has 2 weapons for their defense, firearms and education. We have a right to arm ourselves mentally and physically, thanks to our First and Second Amendments. Disinformation and misinformation are the most destructive weapons currently being used against us by enemies, foreign and domestic. Oh, here we go again. Code words for I want to censor you. I want to eliminate eliminate your First Amendment right. Sorry, Seth, I can't deal with that one. Overall, I was going to give Seth a half an X, but since he wants to get rid of the First Amendment, I think we're going to have to let him go. He gets the full red X. Last one on the list, Angelapence. We'll pop over here to Angela's campaign site. I will say, at the very top of her page, we do have a phone number. We do not have an address or an email address, but it shows the location of Chickamauga, Georgia. Angela for Congress. Fair enough. Here we have a picture of Angela. She's a overweight woman. Once again, we're back to the lack of discipline. We've got a few tattoos over here on the right arm. There is a common belief that women that get tattoos have mental disorders. And here's what Angela has to say. My name is Angelapence, and I am running for Congress in GA 14, dedicated to preserving the principles that this country was founded on. I am running to give the power back to the people. As a mother, military partner, whatever that is, and small business owner, I have deeply felt the impacts of government mishandling, especially over the last couple of years. As someone that is deeply involved in my community, I have seen how much my community has suffered from the very same thing. Together we can work to stop this and move our country towards a more free, more sustainable, more compassionate, and more equal future. Yeah, this equal future, that's the modern feminist word for equity. They want to distribute everything evenly amongst everybody because it's somebody else's fault that they're not succeeding. Number one, no government mandates on anything. This is absurdity. Number two, abolish the Department of Education. Okay. Number three, end the Fed. She's talking about the Federal Reserve, and to help end inflation. I agree. My question for you is, what is your plan? Remove the government from healthcare, education, and people's wallets. Okay, realistically, Angela, it is the people who fund this country. So you're not going to remove the government from people's wallets unless you just plan on having no government. If you want to remove the government from education, what structure do you plan on using? From healthcare? Okay. Invest in renewable, affordable energy. Invest in our future. Angela obviously has not done her homework. There have been studies done, even the most progressive of them all, California, experimenting with this renewable, affordable energy. Number one, it's not affordable. Number two, California does not have enough land in order to have the battery packs required to store the energy that they get from renewable sources. This is an impossibility. It cannot happen. Keep us out of foreign wars. Yeah, okay. Reform our criminal justice system. End qualified immunity. No victim, no crime. I'd have to put some serious thought into this, but it's reasonably sound. Expose special interests and hold corrupt politicians accountable. This is not going to happen. Right now, they're playing this game with going after Hillary Clinton. It doesn't matter what they find out. She's not going to go to jail, and she's already reaped all the benefits that she set out to reap. Together, we can take this one on. Angela, I believe you're being unrealistic. We have Angela over here on the right with this weird color red hair. She presents herself in the first image. It's t-shirts, it's sloppy clothing. Is this actually what we want to send to the world as our finest, our federal government? We've got green hair and a chest tattoo. Unfortunately, Angela, you get an X pretty quick. Just appearance alone. There is no way I would want anybody that looks like you representing me for anything, let alone a United States congressman. Unfortunately, this is what you get when you, as a society, decide the lesser of two evils. Because the lesser of two evils is still evil. It's just a race to the bottom instead of trying to find the very best. Angela states that she's a mother, but she didn't state that she was a wife. Does this make her a single mother? I have a video on single mothers and the results that they are causing on our society. The primary is tomorrow, the 24th of May. Everybody get out there and make your choices, and hopefully we can do better than we have in the past. That's it for me. Y'all have a great day, and I'm out.